Hello and welcome to National Park Wild. I'm Eric, and the Grand Canyon National Park to be specific, is one of the most visited national parks in the United States. It is a beautiful place, however, many people do things that are less than desirable when they go to the park, whether it be due to a lack of planning or something else. I think it is important when going to the Grand Canyon to know what to expect. So in this video, I'm going to give 3 do's and don'ts for Grand Canyon National Park. They will help you have a fun and safe time when you go. Let's jump right into the first do. Hike the Inner Canyon. If you are physically able, doing inner canyon hikes for me is the highlight of the park. Bright Angel Trail in the South Rim is probably the most accessible, and there's a lot of water stops on the way, so it's probably a good starting point if you haven't done very long hikes before. It's a total of 12 miles to Plateau Point and back, and I thought that was the most beautiful trail in the park that I did, and that's a very wonderful view you get at the end. And while overlooks are certainly nice at the park, the reason you want to do Inner Canyon is the change in perspective. As you go further and further down, you see all sorts of new rocks up close and personal, and near the very end you're just surrounded by the walls, and that's special. I think it's a magnificent way to see the Grand Canyon, and I highly recommend that be your primary focus if you go. You can also do South Kaibab or North Kaibab Trail, go all the way to Phantom Ranch and spend the night in the canyon. But if you want to just start out simple, Bright Angel Trail in the South Rim is the way to go. The first don't is don't go to one overlook and then leave the park. This many have done, including myself. A good probably 8 years ago when I went, I did part of a walk around the rim, but didn't really see that much, and kind of as a result of that, I was underwhelmed by Grand Canyon. Now it's one of my favorite parks, because I went further than one overlook. There are several overlooks and hikes in the park. Just in the South Rim, you probably have 10 noteworthy overlooks that all look different from each other. You want to see as many of those as you can, especially if you're not doing the hikes. Inner Canyon Hike, as I mentioned, gives you a better view overall in my opinion. So if you can see more of that, more hikes, more views, you'll have a better time at the Grand Canyon. Obviously, no one can see every single thing in every national park, but if you have the time, seeing more of Grand Canyon will give it a much better vision for you, and you will think much more highly of the park as a result. Now for the second do and don't. Do bring a surplus of water. The Grand Canyon is hot. If you're hiking pretty much any time of year where there's major hikes going on, it's probably going to be pretty hot. Summer is the peak season, of course, and it can get well over 100 degrees. You want to try to mitigate big issues with heat by starting hikes pretty early, but at the same time, if you hike for a very long time, you're just going to need a lot of water. The whole thing about 64 ounces might be good to go with, but I personally think it's good to have at least 2 water bottles per person in your party, and if you're doing Bright Angel especially, you're going to want to refill at every water station you can. But you definitely want to make sure you have enough water to make it through the day, because passing out of heat stroke and similar is a very common cause of injuries and death in the Grand Canyon, and you might go in thinking, I don't feel thirsty, I can make it the whole way through. And everyone does this, but you never know who the next person who's going to get heat stroke is, because it can happen to you. That was a little dark. Let's talk about another safety tip. It's a don't. Don't wear sandals. And even on Inner Canyon hikes, sneakers may not be a great choice. Hiking boots are definitely a preferred and safer choice of footwear. It's actually somewhat not that known that poor footwear choice is one of the biggest causes of injuries in several desert national parks, including Bryce Canyon, which also is Inner Canyon hikes similar to Grand Canyon National Park. So that means it's very important to wear good footwear, sturdy, the kind of thing you're not going to fall in or hurt yourself, twist your ankle, anything like that. Because mixing having plenty of water and wearing appropriate shoes is already a great start to making sure you stay safe while doing some of the more ambitious hikes. Now for the final set of do's and don'ts. Do visit the North Rim. It's a different perspective. You're higher up, you get different views, and it is far less crowded. It can certainly take more effort to get to, but I would say it's worth it. It's a wonderful place, and in general, the North Rim is somewhat an underrated area because of how few people go compared to the main South Rim. If you hate crowds, you'll probably love the North Rim. Not too much else to say on that because I've kind of been talking about the individual overlooks and hikes, so we'll jump right into the don't. Don't go in the peak summer season without a plan. This time of year is quite crowded. Given that the park can get over 6 million visitors a year, the summertime is a pretty tough time to get around. Roads can be quite full, and because of the fact that it's not really a amusement park where they specifically built it for infrastructure and similar, there's not an unlimited amount of parking spaces. So there are a few things you'll want to do to avoid crowds and similar interfering with your experience. I think the best things to do are studying the map beforehand so you kind of know where you're going to go and how to get there. Walking or using the shuttle when roads are busy. Booking your lodging or camping, however you want to stay, well in advance. That can be an especially big issue because you probably will not want to be staying 3 hours outside of the main Grand Canyon area. And know what weather to expect in general. Obviously that can change, but it's good to know that. So if you go in well aware of what you want to do, having a sort of itinerary planned out, that will be helpful. The final tip I'll give for avoiding crowds, that somewhat goes with planning, is starting early. A lot of the people who are more casual visitors that may not be doing the inner canyon hikes but still might take parking spots, it's likely they will not be waking up until later in the morning, possibly 8 or 9 a.m. is when they would get out and about. So if you hit the trails closer to sunrise, which can be 5, 6 in the morning, you will have, possibly, Bright Angel nearly to yourself at certain points. And other inner canyon hikes, and that kind of goes back into the avoiding heat issue. So overall, that is basically what I have to say about this matter visiting the Grand Canyon. To recap, it is good to see as much of the canyon as you can, even if you don't have a lot of time, and to have plenty of water and appropriate footwear for hiking, and to visit some of the less known areas, but also if you visit the more popular ones, being aware of where the crowds will be and how you can get from place to place. This way, you will save time and get the most out of your visit by maximizing the amount of time you spend simply enjoying the canyon and not trying to find a parking spot. And that's all I have to say on this matter. If you want me to do this for more national parks, please let me know in the comments below. Subscribe for more national park content. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.